Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vivagine Vyoma Vadyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtiya Namaha Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmayam. From the first Guru, pure existence consciousness, down to Shankaracharya in the middle, the one responsible for reviving Advaita Vedanta, and my teacher at the end, I prostrate to the Guru-disciple tradition. Ishvara, my Guru, is beyond form and duality. Why is Ishvara my Guru? Why is Ishvara your Guru?
It's leading us, giving us the knowledge.
Yeah, from where does all this knowledge come from?
Ishvara.
Yeah. Therefore, ultimately, you can call one person or another your Guru, but it all is God. Beyond space and time, Ishvara is. I bow to Ishvara in the form of Dakshinamurti. This is a deity who brings us a symbolism of knowledge. The import of all Vedanta texts is beyond the known and the unknown. In other words, it is that which can be inferred or perceived, and that which is out of our capacity to infer or perceive it. In other words, it can only be received. How? Through a pure sattvic mind, a purified mind. It is limitless bliss and unborn light. I worship that reality. What reality is that?
The reality of who I am, self.
Who is our Guru? Ishvara. I worship that reality, the bringer of knowledge, the one who frees us from samsara, the one who is responsible for, if we follow as prescribed, the protocol, leads us to freedom, to happiness. I worship that reality as my Guru. So why do I worship that reality as my Guru and not the world as my Guru? Even though the world is not separate from that reality. Why is that the case? Okay. If I worship, for example, money, is money unlimited or limited?
Limited.
So if I worship limited object, what's my result?
Limited
A
suffering.
limited result. In other words, I worship limited, I get limited. I worship that reality, Ishvara, the total,
Limitless.
therefore the result is limitless. So that's the logic. So what I've done this time is combine all the texts of the Panchadashi, whereby we don't need to click from one to the other, but I've combined them all and made a separate document, and we're going to follow just this for today. And it's much easier because it's going to give us a nice flow of logic. If I sort of interchange between one text and the other, then it's a little bit harder to keep track. Okay? So, question. What is today about? If we missed last week, then we're going to revise. So this means that today will be about the process of creation. How does creation come about? And the question is, why should I know this? Does it make any difference? Ultimately, only you can answer that. But I'll tell you why it is useful to know this. Because it fills a very endlessly curious part within ourselves. How did all this that we take to be real, how did it actually come about? And we're going to go through a process leading through the verses, and I'm going to follow. So, I'll start from revision verse 15 last week. So, the highest reality is called Brahman. Okay? How do we describe Brahman? Sat Chit Ananda. That means it is existence. What does existence mean? we always start at universal. Do you exist? Everyone's sure they exist. Okay, so tikt, sat tikt, existence. Does this object exist? It also exists. So in other words, sat dan, chit, awareness, consciousness. Are you aware of yourself right now?
Yes.
Okay. So sat, tikt, chit, tikt. And ananda, limitless. Now this is a little tricky one because now you're going to say, I'm not going to ask you, do you feel limitless? Right? See, that would depend whether you identify with what. When I say you, your mind, whether it identifies with the limited body-mind intellect or whether it is firmly identified with sat and chit, which is limitless in nature. So, sat existence, chit consciousness, we all exist, we all are conscious, and ananda is describing the nature of Brahman, which is limitless. Which is why we can prove it even in the relative sense. Do you ever have one moment that is exactly the same as the last?
No.
So every moment is different than the last. Meaning what? There is always new, something fresh, implying there is infinite, limitless options available. Every single moment, something, even fingerprints are different, snowflakes are different. There's so many differences all the time. So in the aspect of the world, the fact that it always presents us something new, fresh, every single second, even in the same conversation that you've heard before 100 times, there's a different dynamic about it. That represents or gives away what? That which is infinite. Infinite options, limitless. So, we have so far established the highest reality is Brahman. There is an inherent power inherent to this highest reality called Brahman, and we call this power Maya. And we have established that per the book's language, we call this Maya Prakriti. Now, the word Prakriti is divided into three parts. Before we go into the verse, I want to establish a common language. So, the pra, this is prakasha. This is the sattva portion of the triguna. And prakasha means light. So in other words, what does light mean? What is this light doing right now? Or the sun? Illumines everything. Turn off the sun, I can't even have a conversation with you because what is there? I don't even know if you're there. So in other words, that part which illumines reality, like this light lights up this entire room. So tikt, pradan. Now, prakr, this is kriya. This is the aspect of Rajaguna. That part which moves. That part which energy that puts things to action, makes things happen. And Prakriti, in Sanskrit we have a word Tishtati. Tishtati means to stand. Okay, so what stands as is? Listen to the question. What stands as is? Okay, tishtati. It stands as it is. What does this mean? Object. Is this standing as it is? It is that is it. What do you say it is? What do you say that to? An object. So in other words, to say it stands as it is so. I'm pointing to something. In other words, it is so what? It is an object. So the T part refers to Tamaguna. What is Tamaguna? Material. Out of which the Kriya takes according to the Sattva. What is Sattva? Knowledge. Knowledge. In other words, the Kriya, the energy, takes the knowledge, the all knowledge, Sarvam Dhyanam, takes that knowledge and creates from the material, tamaguna. So this is a simple model that applies to every area of our life. For example, in order to create a house, okay, we need three things. We need a blueprint. We need intelligence how to create a house. So, sattva ticked. What else do we need?
Activity.
Now, if you're sleeping in bed and you're not moving with all of this knowledge of the blueprints of the house, is anything going to happen?
No.
No. So I can have all the planks and all the roofs stacked up, but in other words, I've got the material, but I need to put that material in use according to the knowledge in my mind. So therefore, I make a house. Now, what is Ishvara? All three guna. In other words, the total knowledge, sarvam jnanam and sarvam shakti. Jiva, an individual jiva, is just limited shakti. In other words, we can only just lift up 100 kilograms. We can only we can only stay awake for so many hours. We have limited power. That's why we have limited results. We can't create, we have to take a break. We can't remember everything. We have to, take a pause. So all of our, on the microcosmic, the vyashti means microcosmic level, we are limited as jivas, as body-mind complex. But we can still create according to this blueprint. Now, what is Ishvara? If one individual is... What kind of a person is that? Okay. If one individual has knowledge of a house, and another person has knowledge of cooking. What's the symbol for cooking?
Fork and knife.
An egg. An egg.
A pot.
Okay, a pot. A pan. A pot, okay. Okay, beans, smoke. Okay. So two different people, two different individuals with two different pieces of knowledge. One knows how to make a house, and one knows how to make a nice dish. So obviously this one's going to feed this one, but this one needs a house to feed this one. So you see how they beautifully work together? So why do they work like that? Because of sattva. So what does this show? Order is, our creation is not an accident. Everything that is created relates to something else. Everything's helping something else to serve a purpose for the whole. So now what is Ishvara? The totality of however many lokas or individuals you want to put, they all come here. So therefore, Ishvara is not only cooking knowledge, not only house knowledge, not only programming knowledge, but what? What kind of knowledge?
Total.
Of this, infinitely of the total. Therefore, Ishvara is sarvam jnanam, total knowledge, whereas Jiva is partial knowledge. So, prakriti. So, sattva, rajas, and tama is inherent power in Brahman, because of which this creation comes about. So, that's a big statement, because of which this creation comes about. So you better explain, how does it come about? So now we do that. Revision. What is Maya made of?
Three gunas.
Three gunas. Sattva, rajas, and tamas. And prakriti is equated to what word? Maya. So, prakriti / Maya, Maya / prakriti. These are important terms because to teach the rest of the session, I need you to understand the words. Okay, having known that, we will now move on to verse 16, revision. So we've just spoken about prakriti. Next question. What is this prakriti? And then we answered this prakriti, maybe is of two types. Okay? Perfect. So this prakriti has two types. The first one is Shuddha prakriti. What does Shuddha mean? Yeah, pure.
Pure.
Okay. So the first kind of prakriti is what kind of prakriti? Pure. What is this referring to?
Sattva.
Yeah. Why not rajas and tamas?
Shuddha.
Huh? Well, because sattva is that which is pure, that which is total knowledge.
By which rajas and tamas can contaminate it.
Yeah, the word contaminate is very good. So purity, a beautiful mind. What's the difference between a person, two people, once they're standing side by side? Why do we innocently go to one person and not the other? Or how about a dog? Did you ever go on like a pilgrimage or somewhere, and then there's a group of people walking, and then a dog gets attracted to one individual? What is that? Could that be given away that the individual is more sattvic? We don't know, but that's the idea. So what makes a person beautiful? Not physically, but I'm just beautiful in the total. Mind.
Mind.
We have Ramana Maharishi, he beautifully said, self-realization is the greatest gift that you can give to the world. And we will understand more and more why that is so. Okay, so the first type of prakriti is Shuddha prakriti. And when this prakriti, remember there's only one prakriti, when this prakriti is dominantly sattvic, then we call this Maya. Please don't skip, go ahead, just stay exactly on where I'm at, otherwise you'll be like, I've heard that before. Okay. So Shuddha prakriti equals Maya. Okay, good. Second kind of prakriti, Ashuddha. Remember in Sanskrit, whenever you put the word A in front, it makes it into an opposite. Not always, sometimes you got Atman, Anatman. Okay, but in most cases, A means contaminated sattva by what? By the other two gunas. When I say guna versus guna. Okay, did you hear me in the class say that? What's the difference? This is plural, this is singular. Or I would say gunas, this is without sandhi, so you can also say gunas. I can also say gunaha. Okay, this is with sandhi. So don't be confused. It's just semantics, Sanskrit. Or same with samskaras or samskara. Okay. Ashuddha prakriti, once again, is sattva contaminated by the two gunas. That means the two guna, ha, raja, and tama guna, are dominant in this prakriti. Or this prakriti is dominantly raja and tama guna. So what is, someone tell me, what is shuddha and what is ashuddha without looking?
Shuddha is pure, and ashuddha is contaminated.
Okay, more?
Pure sattva.
With sattva and rajasa.
Okay. So you understand that? We can move on?
Okay. Is it okay to ask prakriti in terms of the Tuesday class? We use aparakriti and parakriti.
Yeah.
Is it this? Why?
No, don't mix.
The different contexts we shouldn't be
Different
mixing.
yeah, don't.
Right.
I'll
Okay.
mention those words if the time is right. Otherwise, to mix it all becomes confusing.
Okay, thanks.
Just pretend like this class is totally other than the Tuesday. It's separate from.
Okay.
Not completely, but most of them. Okay. Now we define, so far we've spoken about what? Brahman, Prakriti, Maya, Guna. What about Ishvara? So Ishvara is defined. Shuddha Prakriti. What is Shuddha Prakriti? Without looking? Sattva Guna. So what is God? What is Ishvara? What is Bhagavan? Pure knowledge, pure Sattva Guna. Now, you're going to ask, you should ask, what about the other two gunas? Because the whole universe, what is the inherent power in Brahman? All three gunas. So I said pure Sattva, does that mean it's only Sattva?
No.
No, it's dominantly Sattva. The others two are sleeping. Okay. So how do we define Bhagavan or Ishvara or God or Paramatma? Actually, not Paramatma, we'll just stay with Ishvara. Okay, what is Paramatma? Paramatma is equatable to Brahman. Okay, so we'll not confuse these words. Okay, Shuddha Prakriti reflects Brahman. In other words, what reflects original consciousness? What is original consciousness? Brahman. So Sattva Guna reflecting original consciousness means Ishvara. reflection of Brahman identified with Maya, identified with pure sattva guna, with Shuddha Prakriti, means it's called Ishvara. Okay, what is Ishvara?
Total knowledge, or total aware.
Ishvara is Brahman, limitless.
Ishvara.
Limitless.
Limitless, according to what I'm saying. We know it's limitless.
Ishvara is
I-
the
I-
three
Pure
gunas.
sattva reflected.
Okay.
Yes,
I had thought that Prakriti and Ishvara are the same, isn't it? Ishvara is the manifested form of Brahman.
Yeah.
So wouldn't Prakriti and Ishvara be the same?
Wouldn't Prakriti... See, they are the same, but then why is there two different words?
That's why. That's what's
Yeah,
too many descriptive words of the same thing.
Okay, good. Otherwise, we wouldn't have two words, right? We would like just save ourselves at that. So the reason there's two words is to help us understand.
Yeah, I get that. So that's where my questions come from.
Okay, here's the order: Brahman, Maya / Prakriti.
Okay.
When that Prakriti is pure sattva, Ishvara.
Okay.
Confusion? No? Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Jiva defined. Are we all clear on Ishvara? Okay, we are. So what is Jiva? Ashuddha Prakriti. When that reflects Brahman, original consciousness, then that gains a name, Jiva. What is Ashuddha Prakriti? Raja Tamas Guna. So what is a Jiva? Predominantly either Raja or Tama Guna. Impure, gross, that's why we're so, gross in this world. Everything's very physical. The whole science is about looking at Tamaguna, basically.
But isn't there a sattva in all jivas?
Yes, predominantly, yeah. So, yes, there is, but at the jiva level, owning to our ignorance means what? There's contamination of all knowledge. Remember sarvam jnanam, sattva guna? So the fact that we don't have knowledge of the total means what? There's contamination at the level of the jiva. But remember, Ishvara is before that contamination came into place. Therefore, what is Ishvara? All knowledge. So therefore, Ishvara is not ignorant. Who is ignorant? Or what is ignorant? The jiva. Okay. So, that is Rajas and Tamas, dominant Prakriti. Reflecting Brahman is Jiva. And this is what we then call avidya, ignorance. So what is ignorance? Avidya. When out of the three gunas, the individual is dominantly Raja and Tama guna. That means they're covered by the total. They don't know, therefore I'm ignorant of my nature. Because the jiva, under the influence of the three gunas, it does not have total knowledge of Ishvara, which is pure sattva. Influence, being intoxicated by a drink, by alcohol, what happens to the intellect? So the pure intellect, one moment, next moment I add some, this special drink called Rajas Tamas. What happens 5 minutes or whatever minutes later?
Contaminates it.
Yeah, that person turns into a really strange person. Why? Because the intellect, the sattva guna, purity, is contaminated. Therefore, I become ignorant even of the basic social etiquette, owing to the contamination of the mind. In the same way, when the jiva is influenced, drunk on this avidya, then we look for limited things. That's the irony. We are the whole, we are the total, you are Brahman, Aham Brahmanasmi, and I'm looking for what? Limited objects in the world. How is that possible? We can all thank Tama and Raja. Okay. All clear? Any questions before moving on? Okay, verse 17. So we spoke about ignorance, or avidya. What is ignorance, avidya? Predominantly rajas and tamas. This avidya is called causal body, karana sharira. Karana shira up there. Okay? Because it causes the why is it called the karana sharira, the causal body? What does cause mean? That which causes. In other words, this is early part in creation. This is the earliest stages. Therefore, it is the causal body of what? The entire universe. There's only one causal body. So therefore, this avidya is now darkness. What is your experience in deep sleep?
Darkness.
I don't know anything. Is that your experience? It's the same for everyone. So what does this mean? Okay, a beggar and a king, while they're awake, they have different personalities, definitely. But what happens when they go to sleep? Are they still a beggar and a king? No, they are what? Exactly the same. King, who knows everything in the waking state, I don't know anything. Beggar, I don't know anything. So what does this mean? They're going back to the one same causal body. Do you now? So what is the statement? I don't know. What does this mean? Ignorance. And what is causal body? Avidya, ignorance. And what happens in deep sleep? I've got nothing to say. Darkness. Just nothing to say in deep sleep. That is called total ignorance. Therefore, causal body is what we are all identified with in deep sleep. This is called Tejasa Jiva. This is coming up, this term. Not Tejasa, Prajna. Okay. So the question was, it causes the entire world and the jivas. See, that's the long A, so that's the plural. How? There is sattva, knowledge of the world, of the total world, as I explained. There is rajaguna, that is desire to put knowledge into action. There's a desire. I know something, I have a desire to express what I know. That is rajaguna. I have a desire to come here or wherever that is. What is that? Rajaguna. And tamas, material for the world, as I explained. To make a house, you need these three. Okay, next. Questions so far? Okay, next. Jiva identified with this causal body. What is the causal body? Pure ignorance. So when the jiva is identified with this causal body, we call this prajna jiva. What do we call this? Everyone? Prajna jiva. See, these are the beginning verses in Panchadashi. We need to establish the vocabulary so for the next verses to make sense. That's why it's important to get the beginning.
Why do you say jiva identified with? Why don't you say jiva in a state of sleep or?
Because jiva.
Because he's actually not identifying with anything. It's looking at how we see the jiva in this state.
At this state, there is no jiva. At this state, we're not talking about jiva as in body-mind. It's still an idea. It's still in the subtle idea. Nothing is physical at this point. Okay, there is no world. There is nothing at this point. It's just all developing.
Okay.
Just follow the order, and it will arrive to the. It will make sense. Jiva identified with this causal body is called the prajna jiva. So when you are sleeping as a person, we call this body also prajna jiva. So when we're all sleeping, what are we called?
Prajna jiva.
Okay, so there's a prajna jiva sleeping in bed. Why do we say this? Because this person who is sleeping is identified with what? Which is total ignorance. I don't know anything. Deep sleep is 100% identification with the causal body. Thus, deep sleep jiva called prajna jiva. Okay, we explained. And the experience of this deep sleep, which is the identification with this causal body, is I don't know anything, and I don't know anything is avidya. And what is avidya? We established avidya is dominantly rajas and tamas. Okay. How moksha ends rebirth. This is just a side note. Self-knowledge, atmajnanam, removes avidya, and avidya gives birth to what? Causal body. What is a causal body? Without reading?
The three gunas.
Yeah, okay, that which gives cause to the world.
Existence.
To the world. So, by self-knowledge destroying ignorance, what am I doing?
Becoming the sattvic.
Okay, what is avidya associated to? Causal body.
Avidya.
What keeps the causal body alive?
Ignorance.
Ignorance, avidya. So if I destroy avidya through self-knowledge, then what have I done? I've destroyed the causal body. For whom? The individual who has gained the knowledge. In other words, upon death, what happens? Owing to the destruction of the causal body,
Stops being
there is no body left to cause what? A subtle body and a gross body, and therefore create another baby, kicking the mother's playing Formula 1. Okay? So self-knowledge destroys that part called avidya, because of which sustains the causal body, and the causal body does what? It creates the mind, and the mind, in order to express, needs a gross body. So why are we all here on earth right now?
because of our karma,
Ignorance
Yeah.
created the causal body.
because of our vasanas.
Okay. More answers?
To get knowledge.
Yeah.
To gain liberation, to evolve.
Okay, but what didn't the jiva do in the previous janmas?
We didn't finish.
Didn't
We
get
didn't realize, no realization.
We did not destroy avidya through self-knowledge, which means either we did not find an acharya, or we found an acharya, but we did not ascertain, there was no nishta jnanam, there was no firm knowledge of that which we were exposed to. Therefore, to be on earth implies I have not done my work I was fooling around in the last life. So we're all naughty. Guilty.
Cooking.
Okay. So this causal body gives rise to the subtle and the gross body, because you can't just have a samskara. Suppose you have a samskara for singing, right? So what? I need to express that, and to express that, what? I need a brain. I need a mind, and the mind's not enough. I still need what? A physical hand, a mouth, a voice to sing. So therefore, as long as there's a causal body which is nothing but vasanas, samskaras, karmas, demands what? A mind and a gross body. Therefore, if I destroy this avidya, which gives sustenance to this karma, vasana, samskara, which is the container for what? All of our karmas from the beginningless beginning, called sanchita karma. So therefore, sanchita karma is destroyed, so there is no possibility to be reborn again. All clear? Question?
Subtle and gross are the effects of the cause of life.
Okay. Okay, we move on now. Verse 18. At the command of Ishvara, don't now ask what do you mean by command, that Ishvara is like an army or something. Just semantics. Don't take the words too seriously. At the command of Ishvara, and for the experience of prajna, what is prajna?
Jiva.
Jiva identified with cause.
Excellent. Okay, he gets good marks. So, at the command of Ishvara and for the experience of prajna, the jiva, the 5 subtle elements are born. What are they? Without looking.
Fire, air, water.
Okay, order.
Space.
Okay, look at. So, what pattern do we establish by this order from space all the way to Earth? I'm going like this now.
Solidity.
What came first?
Yeah.
Subtleness.
Gross.
Good.
Subtle to gross.
So the most subtle is
Space.
space. And what's the property of space? Sound. Do you know now why the Om and mantras are so powerful? What does this mean? What is Brahman? That which is the subtlest of the subtlest. There's nothing more subtle than Paramatma. And what is the most subtlest here? Space. And why do we have these Om and these mantras? Because they are properties of space. Therefore, sound healing, sound mantras have a big impact. They have a big influence because they are that which gets us closest to what? Paramatma. There's a reason for this. And then anything that's earthy is very far from... the more we go into earth, the more grosser, the farther we get from the truth. You know, there's this different spiritual sadhanas, like being buried in the ground for 24 hours. Your head is obviously out. And this is, standard. In Byron, seen a lot of things up there. The idea is, how long can you just be at peace without worrying about your body? There's a reason, but the point is, anything that deals with gross is still very far from the truth. So you can see how the order of those elements. So we'll now talk about how the order of those elements comes. Okay, the 5 subtle elements arose from the part of Prakriti in which tamas dominates. So, at the command of Ishvara for the experience of this jiva that is yet to come, there is no jiva yet, the 5 subtle elements come. So what do we now establish? Okay, order. Brahman, Prakriti, next.
Ishvara.
Okay, but then we have we have Rajas, Tamas dominant, which causes causal body. Next, out of those Rajas and Tamas, we take the Tamaguna. Out of the Tamaguna of the 3 gunas, we create the 5 subtle elements. Okay, I need to draw this. We're not clear, are we? Yeah, we need to draw this. Okay, we have Brahman. Then we have Rajas, Tamas. That gives causal. And then the Tamaguna, okay, from the Tamaguna we create what? The 5 subtle elements, okay? Remember this, they also have the 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, but they're dominantly what? Tamaguna.
So they would be ears, skin, eyes, tongue, nose, is that correct?
Yeah, it's still coming, not at this stage. Yeah. We're still creating 5 subtle elements. They are different from gross elements.
Did you say the 5 subtle elements are mainly Tamaguna?
The 5 subtle elements are created out of Tamaguna. Tamaguna. Yeah. Arose from the part of Prakriti in which Tamas dominates. In other words, what is Prakriti? 3 gunas. And what are these 5 subtle elements created from? Tamaguna. For the one prajna jiva to experience the one macrocosmic causal body, we need matter. So that's the reason. Okay, because see, why is creation being created so far? So that the jiva can
Experience karma.
experience its karma, exhaust its karma. So for the jiva, for the one prajna jiva to experience the one macrocosmic causal body, it needs matter. In order to, you can't just have a thought. I need a field, a physical field to express the thought. Okay, note, there is only one prajna jiva. Okay, we don't have many prajna jivas. This is also called eternal jiva, meaning only one causal body. Remember what I said? One causal body causes every single person here. Causes the world, causes other aliens, causes other entities out there, whatever they are. One total causal body. The jivas don't have individual causal bodies. There is only one universal causal body, avidya. What did I say about sleep? When we all sleep, we all go back to
Ignorance.
total nothingness. Therefore, there is only one. That's the proof. It says proof here, doesn't it? Okay, proof. Everyone's identity is the same when you identify with the causal body. I don't know anything. Okay. Next question. How experiencing field is created for prajna jiva? So it means the jiva has to experience, exhaust its karma. So the question is, how is this field created for prajna jiva? Answer: Ishvara uses mainly tama guna from the 3 guna portion to create 5 subtle elements. So 5 subtle elements, tanmatras, which we'll get to that word, are created mainly out of tama guna. Okay? The reason for 5 subtle elements coming before 5 gross elements. Fair question? Why do we first have gross? Why do we first have gross? Why do we have first subtle and then gross?
It needs to accommodate the gross.
Good. Any more reasons?
The subtle comes first.
The intelligence, the sattva is first because that's where the intelligence is.
Very good. Very good logic.
Cause and effect.
Yeah, causeness. So in other words, the cause is always more subtle than the effect. For example, suppose I have a thought, and then, okay, forget about a thought. Suppose I do something. Why have I done what I've done?
Because you had a thought.
Right, so the thought was what's more subtle. So what are you seeing? A very gross movement. Andre is doing something. So you're seeing the effect. But the fact that that's being performed implies there was something prior, preceded it in order to motivate the body doing that action. Therefore, cause is subtle and effect is gross. Examples from real life. Subtle breeze. That's how it always starts. Subtle breeze turns into what? Tornado. Very strong, very kind of like grossish. But very innocent, subtle breeze. Next, subtle thought, as I explained, goes into a gross action, a gross expression. A subtle seed, you know how a seed is? It's almost empty. It's almost like it's hardly solid. You grind it up, it's almost like space mostly. And then what happens? It turns into a very solid, dense, heavy tree, very gross tree. So we can see this in nature. Everything goes from subtle to gross. Example 2. Space, air, fire, water, earth, the 5 elements. Hence, space closest to consciousness, the subtlest of the subtlest. Property of space is sound. Did you ever notice that when a person is about to die, the last thing that they are exposed to is what? Hearing. Why is that? What is the
More
property?
subtlest.
More subtle. What happens in death?
The gross.
Disappearance of the gross, coming towards what? Subtle. So therefore, what is the last thing that remains?
Breath.
Hearing. There's another reason for this, as we'll get through, but it's very fascinating. And what's the?
So true.
And what is the property of earth? Smell. Smell.
It's true.
When we have a cough, an illness, what is the first thing that goes? And then taste. So smell is earth, taste is water. You see what happens? The first thing that goes is that which is most gross, and the last thing that stays is the most subtle. Okay, purpose of creation. Why does all this exist? Ongoing question. Let's read. For the experience of prajna, jiva, is the reason given for creation. For the experience. The creation is seen as purposeless isness by the jivan muktaha. But it is purposeful for the jiva. Okay, easy question. Why is creation purposeful for the jiva without looking?
We need to exhaust the vasanas.
Look at karma.
Because we need to experience it. Jiva is
Exhaust the
cross
karma.
body and.
No, jiva is like ordinary person, ordinary citizen in life. Like, I want to live. I want to live one more day. I love this. It's so good to be here. Why am I doing that?
Because you're not feeling unlimited, you want something, so you have desire to achieve it.
Good. And there's always more, and there's so much to have, right?
Yeah.
So this means that I have vision. I want to accomplish something. I want to get married. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to go there. The whole life is about purpose, achievement, getting. Therefore, there is a lot of purpose for who? That one who is ignorant or under the influence or drunk by or intoxicated by avidya. Intoxicated by avidya means I don't want to die. Please extend my life. Go and that's what today is about, extending life. For a jnani, it's contrary. Because a jnani realizes that the only reason that there was a body born was for the sake of fourth purushartha, moksha. And dharma, artha, kama were just precursors to lead to moksha. Okay. Because observation of jiva's behavior, the question to why there is a purpose for jiva, because the observation of jiva's behavior leads to the conclusion that moksha is their purpose. Okay, after they have smartened up, this is what they conclude. As all jiva's actions are attempts to remove the nagging sense of limitation imposed by avidya, three gunas. So, for example, mosquito bites. What's the first thing we want to do?
Kill the mosquito.
Yeah, but once it's bitten,
Scratch.
Why do we scratch? In the hopes to
Remove the
get rid of what I inherently know does not belong to me at the aspect of the body. So therefore, whatever I want to get rid of implies I inherently identify with something other than what I'm trying to get rid of. So, what is a jiva doing all day long?
Getting rid of it.
Right? Getting stuff.
Getting
And getting rid of stuff,
Getting
right?
rid of stuff.
That's what our life is. I want to get a little bit, and I want to keep something what I've gotten, and then when I'm tired of it, I want to get rid of it. That's what life is about. So, every action is about this. Why is this constant the case? Because I feel limited. I'm never complete. So therefore, I keep exchanging, shuffling friends and people, right, ongoingly in order to what? Remove the nagging sense of unfulfillment, uncompleteness, and this fact that I keep doing so at least releases me for a little short while. But it doesn't work. We know that from our experience. Next step. What happens next? provide the organs of perception for soon to be made jiva. So we're now following the steps of creation. Okay, what is organs of perception in Sanskritam? Jnana? Jnana Indriya, good. Indriyani. So far we have created what? We have created the causal body, okay? Which is what? Responsible for everything in creation. Next step in creation, I now need to create, which is what it says, we now need to create organs of perception. When I say organs of perception, I'm not talking about your physical eyes. I'm talking about the faculty to see, faculty to feel, faculty to hear, faculty to smell. How do we prove this? Very simple. An eye can be, a person can go blind. But what happens when their eyes get fixed? Do they still continue being blind? So what does this mean? The faculty to see was not affected by the fact that the eye was destroyed. That means when the eye fixes, immediately the faculty comes back. So therefore, faculty is different from the physical eye. The faculty of hearing is different from the physical ear. Understand? Okay. So we're now going to create the organs of perception. Verse 19. From sattva guna aspect of each independent of the 5 subtle elements. Stop there. What do we have so far? 5 subtle elements. Okay? Space, fire, water, earth, those 5 things there. And they're all what? 3 gunas. So out of those each one of those, I will take. So space has 3 guna, air has 3 guna, fire 3 guna, water 3 guna, earth 3 guna. Out of space, considering it's sattva, rajas, and tamas, I will take what? Sattva guna. Out of air, sattva guna. Out of fire, sattva guna. Water, sattva guna, and earth, sattva guna. And when that happens, what happens next? Born are 5 sense organs for picking up sound, property of space, picking up feel, touch, property of air, picking up form, property of the faculty to see form, property of fire, for picking up taste, property of water, and picking up smell, property of earth. You see just what happened here? 5 senses, 5 elements. Why? What's the logic for this? Okay, what is the world made of? 5 elements. Why do we have 5 senses?
To interact with the world.
Yeah, okay, the total world includes form, sound, taste, smell, touch. In order to see the total world, I need what? Faculties to identify form, touch, smell, hearing, and so on. That's why we have 5 senses. Clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why before death, hearing is last to go. Because person is on their way to the most subtle. Why even small fever we lose smell and taste. Grossest. Okay, I already said that. Okay, revision. From the sattva guna of each of the 5 subtle elements, what is born? 5 sense organs. Used for what?
To experience the world.
Yeah, experiencing the world, which is made up of
5 elements.
5 elements, and each of those elements are used to make up the total world, which consists of sound, You're hearing sound now. And what's the sound property of? Space. So the fact there is space, there is sound. The fact there is sound, there is space. The fact that there is, you can see, implies what? Fire. That means that the element of fire is what gives the faculty to see. And so on. Okay, summary. Since the world is made of 5 elements, we have 5 senses, each used to identify one element. If I don't have eyes, I can't see fire. If I don't have ears, I can't, hear your sweet words, whether they are compliments and so on. Problem. We need to sort a sorting mechanism for the 5 input data. Solution is antahkarana, the subtle body. What happens if I just dump onto you thousands of sounds? And then a little bit of fire, a little bit of, a little bit of pictures, some tastes, some smells, and you get exposed to this massive dump of data. Are we going to make sense of it? No. In other words, think of a post office. What happens in a post office? So many individual envelopes come, right? They all have different data, they have different experiences of their own. And then what has to happen? They go through a sorting mechanism in order to make sense of those envelopes, what belongs where. So this sorting mechanism that individuals have is called the subtle body, the antahkarana. So now, we have given you the 5 organs, the faculties to pick up data. But I need to sort that data. Therefore, next step of creation, what comes? The sorting mechanism called the mind or the antahkarana. Okay, now we speak about this. Verse 20. The sattva aspect of the subtle elements combine to create the organ of inner perception called the antahkarana. Okay, what does this mean? The subtle aspect of space plus subtle aspect of air, plus subtle aspect of, not the subtle, the sattva. The sattva aspect of space, sattva of air, sattva of fire, sattva of water, sattva of earth. I take all of them to create antahkarana. Why do I take sattva and not the rajas and tamas?
Pure.
It's the intelligence.
Knowledge.
Okay, and what is sattva? That which reflects. And what is constantly entering our minds? Data. So in order to see that data, like on a mirror, I need a clear mirror in order to see what is reflected onto that mirror. So therefore, antahkarana is dominantly sattva guna. In other words, your mind is dominantly sattva guna. Maybe that's why babies are so pure. Is that so? You think so? Not all of them are pure. See, because the person is born according to their samskaras, so therefore there's a combination of these 3 gunas. But I would suspect they're mostly sattvic.
They're crying,
Not for you, but the baby sattva.
Okay, so far they combine and they create the subtle body. Now the subtle body has 2 functions. It doubts and it determines. That's what your mind does. We discussed this last time. Have you doubted whether to come here or not?
No.
Please say yes in this case.
No doubt.
Okay, but okay. Suppose that we at some time in life, we don't want to go somewhere.
Oh yeah.
At first time, right? Then is there a doubting mechanism going on?
Absolutely.
What happens with the mind? It's oscillating.
Let's go now.
Should I not? Should I not? And then what happens, and then while it's oscillating, what happens with our conversations? We're like the most interesting person in the world, right? We have so much to say. That's what makes a talkative person. They're always in doubt, they're always talking, should I not gossip, all of this. Mind oscillating. A wise person has nothing to say. Why? Because the wise person is associated with the buddhi, which is that which determines and stops the oscillation and makes it still. So therefore, identified with the mind, I am constantly oscillating left to right. And I have a lot to say. I'm an interesting person. As soon as the mind stops, I'm a boring person. Because now there's nothing to say. Right? You're firm. Therefore, manas, doubting, I don't know if I should or should I not. When I've made up my mind, intellect has now taken hold. It's dominant. So this is what happens with our life all day. Every day we wake up. Should I have mushrooms or should I have...
Tomatoes.
Yeah, that one. So we're unsure. And then we're agitated, are we not? Right? While we're in a doubting mechanism. So therefore agitation is the result of identification of undecided, undetermined mind. Make up your mind. We heard that before. There's a valid reason why we say that in that tone. Because it's agitating for that person to be unable to make up their mind whether they want or not. It also bothers me if you don't make up your mind. Because I'm now worried. See how minds affects the minds? So in other words, once the decision is made, then we're all peaceful. Okay? Notice how both manas and buddhi have to be made from all 5 elements in order to identify the world of 5 elements. So your mind is made up of all 5 elements in order to identify all 5 elements. And the all 5 elements create what? The world. The manas, that is the mind, what does it do besides doubting? It forms concepts because it's fluid. Think of the intellect as that which is firm. It's very solid. You just, yes, no, right? Knowledge. But mind is very fluid. It constantly adjusts to the environment. So therefore, manas is that a faculty which forms ideas on the basis of what? Memory, previous experience, and so on. It judges. Are you a good person, not so good person? Is this wise or not wise, and so on. And it cognizes. Cognizes mean what? To cognize data means what? Yeah, to recognize. That means I pick up something. I pick up data according to the 5 senses. Now
what's intuition?
Huh?
What is intuition? Is it in the mind or?
What?
Intuition.
Intuition, yeah.
Yeah, good question. Where does intuition come from? Yeah, and yeah, definitely from the mind. Because often we think intuition is something beyond the mind. Like it's just like, whoa, it's intuitive, it's special skill. Where does intuition come from? Intuition based on what?
Experience.
Past. In other words, intuition is nothing but chitta, memory. It's not there. Memory plus intellect in order to evaluate what is the possibility, what is the highest probability in this case. And then we call that intuition. But it feels like, oh, I just got this idea. No, it's just automatic. Intellect and memory are working together in the background. They have established something, they have brought it forward, and therefore I go, I know. We can prove this very easily. If you're that kind of person who always so-called has intuitions, how often are you accurate? 50-50. Yeah.
So really the sense of intuition is slightly different than conscious judgment or assessment. It seems to be
it's spontaneous.
Yeah, and has a different quality, seems to have a different quality to it. But it's really the same.
It's just more subtle.
Yeah. Good.
So does emotion come into the manas?
Yeah, just look at this as one mechanism. They're always working together. It's never just intellect. But we just have to use these different words to sort of see how they work together. So, because, okay, the answer to that question is whenever you have a thought, is it dry or it has something behind it? It has some sort of aliveness behind it. That aliveness is the emotion.
That's what I was thinking, because when you have an intuition, you feel that something.
Yeah, so there is also mind. But that mind also depends on how exercised is how expanded is your mind, also depends on how intuitive I am. So it's completely relative based on the mind, on the memory, on the intellect, and doubting. Suppose you have a vasana for doubting, that means even that vasana for doubting is going to override what? Intuition. So I see how it's all connected. And then we say, I'm not an intuitive person. Okay. Buddhi gives solidity to form concepts and judgments. That means it solidifies the mind. It makes it concrete. It cures the concrete. Then vacillating thought of mind reaches a state of decision. That firm state is what we call buddhi. Clear now? So what is manas? What is mind?
Oscillating.
Yeah. And intellect?
Firm.
Firm. Yanked. Planted. Dug up.
Can still be wrong though. So your intellect, you use your intellect and you work something out and you can still be wrong.
Yeah, because the person decides based on their chitta, based on the environment. They're making the best decision, but the point is at least they're firm.
Oh.
Because see, it's better to be firm than to remain in an oscillating state. Because at least when I'm firm, what happens next? Action. But the action is going to give me feedback. And the feedback is going to then correct me next time to do an action that's more closer to what is desirous.
That's good to be firm and wrong than just to hang around and say, I don't know.
Yeah. Firm and wrong is better than vacillating and neither wrong nor right.
That sounds like Krishna and
It's
Arjuna.
like a snake in a rope, and you get the stick, you start thinking
the
about
bucket.
it. You make a decision.
Okay.
It's coming up.
Okay, where are we now so far in this conversation?
Oh, my down that road.
Okay. Sattva guna, from 5 subtle elements, so far created the 5 sense organs and the subtle body. So that's what happened so far in creation. What's next? Let's see what happens when the Raja Guna from the 5 subtle elements creates in the next verse. So we have now seen what happens when the 5 elements, when you take the sattva out of that. We have created what? 5 sense organs and subtle body. Now what about when you take dominantly Raja Guna out of those 5 elements? What happens then? Next verse, verse 21. From Raja Guna aspect of each independent of the 5 subtle elements. This means the Raja Guna, mainly the Raja Guna from space, mainly Raja Guna from air, mainly from fire, mainly Raja from water, and mainly Raja from earth. Okay? So when that happens, then comes 5 organs of action. In Sanskrit we call this Karmendriya. In other words, Indriya, the organs for karma, action. Again, subtle to gross. Okay, we have it here, do we not? So 5 organs of action. Speech, hands, procreation, feet, and excretion. Is that the right order? Okay, here's the right order. That's not the right order there. Huh?
That's what it does.
What's the last one?
Speech, which is
Yes. I'm going to verify. Because this is from from Panchadashi, so I'll put trust in this for now. So the subtlest is the speech, and the most gross is procreation.
I thought excretion was
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Excretion. It could be either excretion or...
procreation is
There's
excretion.
Huh?
It's correct.
Is most gross. So this means excretion is associated with earth. Yes.
I see.
Well, it's got the green.
There's
You
possibly
imagine the
an,
green versus the
there's
green.
possibly an error.
Yes, is excretion.
Yeah.
You see, if you look at the colours, there's possibly an error because
Yes, that's green under.
the feet come after sex, but usually the feet, which says red, is before the blues. So, so one of those.
Okay. Good. Okay.
That's not right.
Okay, the idea is these organs, these karma indriyas, also come from the most subtle and then to the most gross. And what's the most subtle? Speech. We also have speech there. Yeah. So this means an orator is much closer to the truth than someone who is, for example, doing something that is very physical with their hands, right? Note, all 5 elements are still in pure tanmatra stage. Okay, tanmatra simply means subtle elements, okay? So all 5 elements are still in pure subtle stage. Nothing is gross at this point in the universe. Everything is still what? An idea. It is still a potential thought. They have not undergone grossification yet. All is still a thought at this point. Okay, what's next? Prana is coming. Okay, verse 22. What is prana? Prana.
Breath.
Yeah, it's not just air or breathing, it's also life force. Life force that animates the jiva, that makes the jiva breathe, circulate, excrete, and so on. Okay, verse 22. Raja aspect of the 5 subtle elements combine to create prana, vital air. So, Raja from space, plus Raja from air, plus Raja from fire, plus Raja from water, plus Raja from earth, equals prana. It is divided into 5 physiological functions. So now we ask, what is this prana? A little bit more detail. The capacity to breathe, we call prana. So you're now breathing, inhaling and exhaling, because of the physiological function called prana. That physiological function is given, is created so that the jiva can breathe. The excretion or expelling is another physiological function. Digestion, that means the ability to, when you ate today, whatever that was the mainly samana or digesting prana was working its way to digest that food, and not only that, but to deliver those nutrients throughout the body. Circulation, in other words, that which distributes all of the right nutrients from where? From the prana of digestion. So once samana has done its digestion, then what takes over? Dhyana. In order to deliver that digestion, those nutrients throughout your body. And finally, throwing up, vomiting. Why is that the case? Why is there vomiting? Because if something toxic enters the body, then it needs to be immediately expelled to preserve the life force, the survival of the individual. So that's when this prana kicks in, called udana. Don't go ahead, please. I shouldn't see you reading. Only read when I'm looking.
But could you say it's anything to do with the autonomic nervous system?
Describe autonomic.
All the things that you don't have to think about to do, it just becomes
Automatic.
No, it's autonomic.
autonomic. Yeah.
I'm going to look up that word better. I don't know exactly what it means. I've heard it.
So why do we throw up when we are pregnant?
Huh?
Why do we throw up constantly when we're pregnant? I mean, like 6-7 months through the pregnancy. Why do we throw up? What is toxic in our body?
Well, good question. Maybe something is toxic.
It's hormonal changes.
Well, that's what we think. But now, going into this knowledge, there must be something that the body is rejecting out.
The point is, it's rejecting it. The point is, that which makes it rejecting is this rejecting prana. But we don't know why. That is not what I'm discussing. There may be a biologist or a doctor who will be able to answer that. I'm just talking about what is it that makes it possible. Okay, and finally, upon death, we also need udana to expel the subtle body from the physical body. This means if the udana was missing, then we couldn't die. That would be really weird. Why am I alive but not alive? Am I alive or not alive? Okay, so this udana is the last of the prana that is operational before the heart signal goes from into flatline. So it's the moment that flatline, the thing that happened most prior is what? Udana, severed subtle body from the gross body. Therefore, there is nothing controlling the body anymore. Therefore, it just fails because there's no prana anymore. So prana leaves. The last prana that leaves is udana. Now maybe you can argue also the last one is
not last breath.
Huh?
Last breath.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Last breath, maybe they're intertwined. Because a person can breathe out and he can still be alive sometimes. Doesn't matter. We'll put them together for now. Should we ask them? So they can breathe.
Sometimes the line stops and then they come back after 20 minutes, they revive again. They came on their own, nobody revived them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting the near-death experiences, they will go somewhere in some fancy place and usually it's like the same story. No, you need to go back, you need to finish your work. No, I don't want to, I feel so free. No, you still need to,
Not your time.
give the spirit, sell your car.
They always see light.
Pack your suitcase.
Whatever they're doing, it's sort of light.
Right? And then person, okay, fine, I'll finish my job here. And then they come back. But sometimes they don't. And then they come back to say that I didn't want to come back.
Or they come
and they
back.
go die again.
Sometimes they come back and the body is in a different position.
No, they're like, I just want to tell you, go back.
The gold spirit in there.
Yeah, flatline, Sonny, wake up. It's one last thing. Give me the money back. Is it ready?
It's going to.
Looks scary.
It looks, it's getting dark.
Okay, we will take a break in 5 minutes. Okay, summary so far. Verse 17, we talked about causal body. Anandamaya kosha is another name for it. So Anandamaya kosha, ticked. It's created so far. Verse 20, we spoke about sattva aspect of the 5 subtle elements combined. That means the sattva of all of the 5 elements combined, creating what? Subtle body. Why is your mind made out of the 5 elements? Because it needs to identify and recognize the world, which is made of 5 elements. So this means Vijnana Maya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha of the Pancha Kosha, ticked, created. And verse 22 spoke about the Raja aspect of those 5 subtle elements. They combine. That means Raja from each one of those 5 elements, they equal what? Prana. So in other words, now we have Prana Maya Kosha. You see see what's happening here? Oh, I thought it was not here. You see, we're going from the subtlest. Subtlest, we're going towards what? Gross body, Anamaya Kosha. So what's next? Summary of what makes up the subtle body based on what we learned. Let's investigate. Okay, now we can read. The 5 sensory organs and the 5 organs of action, that means what? Your karma indriya and your jnana indriya. The 5 vital airs, the 5 pranas. So how much do we have so far?
15.
5 plus 5 plus 5. 15. 10. Okay. And we also have Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha. Why did I say we also have Manomaya and Vijnana? That makes up what? The Antahkarana. So that is how much so far? 17 components have so far been created in the aspect, the timeline of creation. I say timeline because now you're going to put, what about time? Was this all created in time? We're not going to discuss that because it's going to get very tricky. So all 17 together form the subtle body called Sukshma Sharira or Linga. Linga according to the Panchadashi text. Okay, this Linga is going to come up again. But just look at it as Sukshma Sharira, which means subtle body. So what is our subtle bodies made of? Subtle body, mind, intellect. Forget about the ego for now. The 5 organs of action. Where are they? Here. And 5 organs of perception. Because this prana actually belongs in the subtle. Actually, the subtle, the prana is halfway between gross and subtle because it connects to them. Okay? But that's why I put in my, this blue one should be kind of like equal there. Right? So your subtle body is made up of, again, revision.
Mind.
Yeah.
Intellect.
Yeah.
5 organs of action.
Yeah.
And 5 organs of perception.
So that's 17 in total. Okay, we're not talking about the ahamkara, the ego yet. It hasn't come. Okay. Actually, reverse the last thing that said it hasn't come. Erase that. We'll just say the ahamkara, we're not going to discuss now. Okay? That will come when the verse says so. Okay, here's commentary. The subtle body cannot be perceived by the sense organs. It is known as the linga, or the sukshma sharira, that by which something is known. So what is the subtle body? What is your mind? That by which I can know something. What is that something? Objects. Do you know this pen right now? Why? Because you have a mind. And what is your mind? That by which I get to know things. Okay, that's what it's saying. That by which something is known. Linga means sign, we're reading here. And sharira means something that is perishable. Stula, sukshma, karana, sharira, all perishable.
But linga means what? Sign?
Sign, the sign. The last one is going to explain why. It is made of sattva guna, this mind, this antahkarana, this subtle body, and it reflects awareness. It reflects the original consciousness, paramatma. Hence, it is a sign or an indicator of what? The presence of awareness. Why? Because the whole universe is nothing but the one substance. We call that Brahman, consciousness or awareness. Therefore, it reflects, or it is an indicator of the presence of awareness in the form of what? In the form of matter. Can your mind perceive consciousness? Why not? Why can your mind not perceive consciousness?
It's too subtle.
Huh?
Too subtle.
Yeah, it's too subtle. More answers?
And it's...
Okay, try
Because it pervades. Consciousness pervades in
Mind is an effect. And
consciousness.
Okay,
It's a lower order of reality.
Yeah, super. Okay. And of course, these are all called indirect answers. Now let's go direct style. Please be aware of yourself being aware.
Not possible.
No, don't even say it. Just try. Be aware of trying to be aware. Okay, while you're doing that, keep doing that, please. Be aware of yourself trying to be aware. Keep doing that. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of that experience?
I think so.
Yes.
Huh? Are we aware? Were we doing that? Question: were we doing that exercise? How do we know that? Because that exercise was where? In the mind. And what was prior to that exercise? What was prior to that experience? That was underlining it. Awareness. This is no matter how hard I try to be aware of myself as consciousness, that is where? An experience in the mind. Because while I'm doing that, is there no... Then later on, if I ask you, have you done that? And you say what? Yes, I have. That means what? Consciousness was there. You were there during that exercise. Okay, that's why we cannot objectify. It's just from personal experience. You inquire it. Otherwise, if we keep answering these indirect answers, then there's no relatability. We need to make it relatable. And lastly, okay, we haven't finished. Hence, it is a sign or indicator of the presence of awareness. That's what your subtle body is. It is subject to change as the guna is modified. Explain. What does this mean? Your mind is subject to change as the guna is modified.
The contamination between rajas and tamas.
Louder?
As the contaminants from rajas and tamas appear superimposed over the top of your...
Okay, give me an example, real life. How do I contaminate my mind with tamaguna?
Get angry.
Sleep.
Yeah?
Sleep.
Sleep, yeah. What else?
Lots of action, energy, running up a hill. So lots of rajas will then create tamas because you'll be tired, you'll be exhausted after that.
Yeah, I agree.
Acting on your vasanas.
What about watching the news? Negative stuff.
Yeah.
What about going to a rave party? Where it's dark? Yeah.
I would just say when the mind is too preoccupied with things of the world.
That's Rajaguna.
Yeah.
Because then it's very active. Yeah, but I'm talking about Tamaguna.
Dream?
Yeah. Now, how do you go into a Rajaguna? How do we make our minds very agitated and very passionate, very... how to be... I just call it one word. How to be sexy in the world. Because that's what Rajaguna is. Be an accomplisher, be someone.
Which is Rajas.
Yeah, be out there.
Extroverted.
Yeah, be out there. In other words, give me a skill, give me something. Let me be number one. Let me be successful, very successful. Let me make sure that everyone knows about that. Okay.
It's called
a lot of sports.
It's called Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, right? Because so much distraction, competition.
Expressing your vasanas.
Expressing your vasanas, right? Constantly partying. It's all about let's go see, let's take shots of everything, let's play sport after sport and non-stop activity. Rajaguna. Yeah. Is that agitating?
Yeah.
Yeah, after some time, the person gets very agitating. Fast cars, all of this stuff, all this teenager stuff, Rajaguna. And how do you make your mind sattvic? What is sattva? What's an expression of sattva?
Knowledge.
Clarity.
Lightness.
Go for a walk in nature.
Good, yeah.
Meditate.
Accurate examples, yeah.
Be free of thought.
Yeah, but there's some practical things.
Meditate.
Yeah, then be free of
Stand on the beach and be in the
Be
ocean.
compassionate.
Huh?
Be compassionate.
Okay, now why do you want your mind to be sattvic?
So
Okay, what is the mind? Antahkarana.
reflect.
Yeah, reflect what?
Reflect
Knowledge of the total.
Knowledge of yourself as Ananda, as limitless. Therefore, how do we retain permanently cheerful, permanently content with life no matter what happens?
It's when we see the oneness.
Cultivate something.
When we see
Ishvara is your God.
Follow Dharma.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. So now, how
Devotion.
can I follow? Can I follow?
Devotion?
Huh?
With devotion?
Devotion. Yeah. So if I follow Dharma with devotion, can I do that with the tamasic or rajasic mind?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because
you're
Clouded.
too identified with your body mind
Yeah.
and your own ego
Yeah.
to be able to see beyond.
Yeah.
your
that's more in the
limited
bucket too, but
And the body mind always wants what? More to grab onto something.
get this, get
Yeah.
that.
which is never sufficient. So in other words, I don't have time to devote to something that I can't see. Someone said, how are you supposed to see God in someone that, how are you supposed to recognize God which you can't see when you can't even have devotion to a person that you can't see? That's the idea. See, we're thinking, oh, I need to devote to God, but we can't even devote to what? Someone that we can't see. So how am I supposed to devote to someone that I can't see? So in order to devote to someone that I can't see, that I can't perceive, I need what? Sattva guna. So the whole point of sattva guna, cheerfulness, happiness. Now let's be realistic. I know what you're going to say. Life is not like that. I know that already. Sometimes some family member suddenly is in hospital or some financial troubles. We understand that. That is very much of a possibility. I'm just saying the person does not get so much identified. There's a general calmness. It's okay. In the big picture, it's okay. This needs to get addressed right now because it is important, but ultimately it's not such of a big deal. Because it's just, after all, just one life you're living.
It's part of life.
It's part of life, yeah. And I'm not special. I'm not that special to put so much importance on this thing. People before me have gotten this millions of times, this kind of problems and so on. So why should I now bother you about my problems? That kind of rationale, right? So let's not kind of dump our stuff onto others. Because everyone goes through, ups and downs. Okay, so we'll take a break now. So, okay, what's next? Now that the subtle body is constructed, ticked, done. Jiva can not only identify with the causal body, called Prajna Jiva, but also with the subtle body, taking it even further away from the truth, into gross identification. So now we're going what? From subtle, deeper into what?
Gross.
Into gross. This is the story of creation, how the subtle came into this kind of limited world. Okay, we will continue this in 15 minutes. Okay, we pose a question. What's next? Now that the subtle body is constructed, that is the mind, the jiva can not only identify with the causal body, but also the subtle body. And this process is now about to take this jiva into an even further awareness from the subtlest of the subtlest, which is Paramatma, into creation. So now let's see what's next. What happens? Verse 24. When prajna, that is the one eternal jiva, which is identified with the causal body, that's what a prajna is. When that one identifies with an individual subtle body, it is called, now a new name, we call it Taijasa Jiva. Okay, so from one to many. A metaphor for this is, suppose that you have, one ocean, okay? Forget about this ocean now analogy that I used before, just one ocean. And we can call this one ocean Prajna Jiva. So this ocean, gives rise to many individual waves. So those waves are now called Taijasa. Okay? So this means the one substance of the ocean, when it's identified with the wave, then we call that Taijasa Jiva. But when that one substance is identified with the entire ocean, we call that Prajna Jiva. So one Prajna, many Taijasas, many minds. And this Taijasa means the shining one. Why is it the shining one? Someone said, reflecting. Okay, it shines what? It reflects back. It shines awareness. It reflects back awareness. That which is shining implies what? It is pure enough to reflect, therefore it's shining. Or the dreamer. That's why I say this is still an idea. It is still in this very subtle thought. When Ishvara identifies with all subtle bodies, that is the total linga sharira, the total Sukshma Sharira, it is known as Hiranyagarbha. New term. So Hiranyagarbha is what? Macrocosmic, subtle body. Macrocosmic, what does macrocosmic mean? Total. Whenever I say macrocosmic, it means what? Total. Total does not exclude anything because it is the total. So therefore, the total, so, okay, every one of our minds, when we all add it together, and also for others, also for other lokas, everywhere, all of our minds added together equals Hiranyagarbha. Total knowledge. Therefore, what is Hiranyagarbha? Total mind. Therefore, the knowledge of everything. I may know computers, someone else may know how to, dive, free diving. They had very proficient skills. I don't know what they know, but they don't know what I know. But both of those minds, this person's mind and that person's minds, are part of the one total. Therefore, Ishvara has knowledge of diving, of programming, of speaking, of this, of that, of everything. So that total mind is Hiranyagarbha.
Is that the same as Virata?
Huh?
Is that the same as Virata?
Virat is the gross body, it's not coming, it's not yet. Virat is going to come. So when Ishvara, that means when the total, which is what? Pure sattva guna, when that identifies with all of the subtle bodies, in other words, what is subtle body? 5 elements. It is known as Hiranyagarbha. Okay, one simple sentence. Total subtle body equals Hiranyagarbha. Now, Taijasa is consciousness, in other words, Paramatma, identified with one single subtle body of the jiva. So Taijasa, so Brahman identified with one single subtle body equals Taijasa. Brahman identified with all of the subtle bodies equals Hiranyagarbha. Okay. Commentary. If both are born out of the subtle body, what is the difference? This means both Hiranyagarbha. Okay, this means both Ishvara and, that means both Hiranyagarbha and the individual jiva are born out of the subtle body. Okay, they're both subtle body. What's the difference? Because what is individual? One subtle body. What is Ishvara? So what is individual? One individual subtle body. What is Ishvara?
Total.
The total individual subtle body. So therefore, what's the difference? One has limited knowledge, one is unlimited. So now the inquiry continues. Ishvara is consciousness identifying with everything. So what is God? Original, pure consciousness, Brahman, Paramatma, identifying with everything in the universe in the past, present, and future. Pure original consciousness, we're reading, identifies with nothing. In other words, Brahman identifies with nothing. It is free of everything. Consciousness identified with a particular subtle body is jiva. Okay, we established that. The Taijasa is the individual because it only has knowledge of its own mind. I only have knowledge of I don't have knowledge of your mind, and you don't have knowledge of my mind. Therefore, because that is so, then it gains a name called Taijasa Jiva, because we have individual minds, whereas Ishvara has total mind. This is why we say God is everywhere. He's not out there, but He's also where? In my own mind, because God is the total mind, including this mind, including that mind, including every mind. God is in English, equivalent in Sanskrit, Ishvara, Bhagavan. So don't think, what we're talking about when we say God. Okay, at this stage, macro and micro is born. Now we introduce two words, vyashti, samashti, macrocosmic, microcosmic. When Brahman is referred with reference to totality, to everything, we call that samashti. You hear this word in the Gita, samashti. What is samashti? The total. When Brahman is referred with reference to the individual, we call this vyashti. Okay? Macro samashti, micro samashti. Vyashti. What is macro? Micro?
Vyashti.
Okay, now we know. Okay, revision. Jiva identified with causal body. What is causal body? Yeah, karana sharira, which is
Ignorance.
what gives birth to avidya, is called prajna. We established that. Next, jiva identified with the subtle body is called taijasa. Okay? Prajna, taijasa. Two terms we need to remember. Okay, see chart page 30 for visuals. Page 3. Which? Space. What do you mean? See chart page 30 for visuals, Subhanshu. Oh, this one. Oh, this one. Right. Okay. Oops. You didn't tell me.
I thought you'd realise soon.
Okay, so it's there. Okay. Let's look at the samashti side, please. So what is, first comes Brahman, remember? In Brahman is an inherent power called Maya. So now we're starting from that level. So from Maya, we can divide it into two categories, macrocosmic and microcosmic. Now let's look at the samashti. Brahman identified with Maya, that means with the Triguna, whereby this Maya is under control of Brahman, because the total is called Ishvara. So therefore, Brahman identified with Maya is called Ishvara. Now we have Brahman identified with the collective total minds. We call this Hiranyagarbha. Clear? Next, Yashti. This is individual. Okay, the Paramatma identified with the individual, identified with causal body. I don't know why it says Linga Sharira. Is prajna. Remember that? Causal body, sattva rajas. So therefore, when Brahman is identified with the causal body, we call this prajna jiva. When it is identified with avidya, yeah, what I said was correct, but identified with individual. Okay, we know this one. When it's identified with individual sukshma sharira, it's called taijasa. We got that?
Yeah.
When it's identified with the causal body, we call that prajna.
Yeah.
You know that? I don't know what they're talking about here. Okay, but that just gives you a general overview. Is everyone confused? Is everyone clear?
I think I'm clear.
Okay.
So causal body is prajna and
Yeah, causal body is prajna. So this thing should be erased completely.
the middle one.
The middle. Identify with
half and half.
Well, it should be prajna jiva.
Prajna jiva.
Yeah. So this side is a little. Maybe he meant something else. I don't know what he meant, but it's pretty clear. So Brahman identified with with avidya.
So it's got the same text at the top and the bottom. identified with individual linga sarira, identified with individual linga sarira.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
So we just take away one of those,
Yeah.
the top one, and put that prajna in the middle.
Yeah. Exactly. So forget about this. Okay, we'll put prajna here. Yeah? Done. Okay. So we return back to our text. Okay, what's next? The difference between samashti and vyashti. That means the difference between macrocosmic and microcosmic. What is it? This will be answered in the next verse. We have permission to read. Verse 25. Ishvara, as Hiranyagarbha, in other words, Ishvara identified with the total minds called Hiranyagarbha, is called totality, samashti. Because of his, capital his, that means because of Ishvara's, sense of identification with all of the subtle bodies of the universe. We've established that already. The other, that means the Taijasa, is called individual because it lacks this knowledge. What is this knowledge? The total, right? Therefore it's called Taijasa, and the other one, which doesn't lack this knowledge, because it is identified with everything, it's called Hiranyagarbha. Okay, it lacks this knowledge and is conscious only of his or her self being identified with his or her own subtle body, with his or her sukshma sharira. Therefore, we are called Taijasa Jiva. Okay, commentaries by Ramakrishna's text. You know Ramakrishna order? They're also excellent Vedanta. Yeah. So we're using Ramakrishna, Paramarthananda, James, and Chinmaya. We're mixing them together because they beautifully complement each other. The Jiva's relation to Ishvara resembles a voice in the chorus or a cell in a body. Remember that chorus example? So, the Jiva's relation to the total resembles one single voice out of the many voices of all of the jivas in the entire world. Or one single cell in a body. One white blood cell, another white blood cell, another white blood cell, millions of white blood cells make up what? The one total physical person. So just look at the jiva as a white blood cell in the universe. In other words, we're all cells cruising around, and we all make up what? The one total. Just like a puzzle piece. You know the puzzle pieces you put together? You know, someone doesn't like being like a poop in the corner. But the fact is, one has to be a poop, because the poop is also part of creation. So what does this mean? I have to accept my duty, whatever I am given, because my karma makes me, a poopy person. Someone else, may be very glorious. Someone be like a sun, right? But that's only because of their karma. So then how do we navigate this creation? By accepting our position in life. That is what leads to freedom. If I don't like being a piece of poo, that means what? I'm not owning up to my results, or to my actions. So this is called self-love, self-acceptance. Okay.
You can accept your position in life as a poopy, and still by practicing dharma,
very good
position away to a different.
That would take away the poopy life next birth.
Or even sometimes, you can even be.
You have to accept first.
Yeah, or even a person can be poopy, a dharmic, a poopy person, but they can still, by following dharma, they can still, move faster than someone who is like a beautiful sunflower. Oh, look at me, I'm so important, I'm so rich, I'm so famous. So it doesn't matter what picture I play in the big picture, all that matters is where is my vision. Yeah. Is it towards dharma, artha, kama, or is it towards moksha? That's all that matters. So the position you play in life is completely irrelevant. All that matters is what? Right now. How am I making use of my actions today? Okay, commentaries, extra commentary. Ishvara sees all subtle bodies as itself. Taijasas are only identified with themselves. That's the difference. They see differences. So why do we see differences? And why does Ishvara not see differences?
Identify with ourselves.
Yeah, therefore I am different to you, therefore I only see what? That difference which is other than the expression of this puzzle piece. If you're sunlight, I see you're shiny, but I am, on the ground. Therefore I will see, and then that will bring certain emotions. Whereas Ishvara cannot see differences. Why?
He's total.
Yeah, because what is there to see the difference if differences are all inclusive in the one single total? Okay, next, commentaries. We can read. When the jiva gains control over prakriti, that is matter, only then can he or she realize its own nature as Sat-Chit Ananda, that is Brahman. Hence, the need for spiritual sadhana to be able to come out of the clutches of prakriti. This is where the sadhana is important. Continuing, prakriti is dvandvatmika. In other words, prakriti is of the nature of opposites, pairs of opposites, black or white, day, night. So what is prakriti?
World, matter.
Duality. Yeah, brings birth to duality. Because to have differences, I need opposites. Overcoming prakriti is to accept the world which exists in the pairs of opposites. That is the sadhana. We can speak about this all we want, but it's another thing to actually accept the world as it is, as it stands. Such a sadhana should lead to unconditional and reasonless love. That means there's no reason to love you, I just love you helplessly. For everyone without a trace of bitterness. Explain. Why is this the case? Why should I love you without a trace of bitterness? What if I don't? What's the problem there?
It's your
You're not loving the
of
self,
Ishvara.
God.
Yeah. What is it?
Loving.
Divinity.
Creating separation.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
In other words, as long as I don't love something, I'm excluding that something from the total, from the total. But since I'm also part of the total, I'm excluding a part of myself. Therefore, I'm not integrated human being, as long as I keep excluding certain things. Now, what does this mean in real life? Does this suddenly mean I'm supposed to treat everyone like my mom?
No.
No. What does this mean?
This means
Just accept it.
Practicing the Dharma, because each of the
Accept
different
whatever they are,
relationships
whatever.
carries its own Dharma.
Yeah. Seeing it in a different light from how I'm used to. If I saw it as, if I see Hitler and I go, how could he? Now, what's the new thinking?
You're seeing him apart from yourself.
How do you do that? How do you not have any feelings or any kind of discouragement?
acceptance of him as a total,
Part of the process.
as part of ourselves.
Yeah.
Not necessarily condone his behaviour. You
Yeah.
can, disagree with his behaviour, but it's behind that behaviour. It's that self,
Seeing
which
him
is
as
a
the
part of
self.
us.
Yeah.
So
Good.
there's a need for that.
Yeah. What about karma?
And they are playing out their karma.
That's up to him to work.
Definitely playing it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. They can't help it.
So you're leaving
They
your fate to
weren't born.
Ishvara.
Yeah. They weren't born saying I want to decimate millions of people. They didn't do that. Nobody does that. I just find myself innocently in a situation that I don't like someone, and then I plant a war. So we come into this world already with a certain karma as a result of past actions. So in other words, what are we doing here? Going from subjective, how dare he or she, to I'm looking at from the standpoint of objectivity. What does objectivity mean? This is just a mind with a certain program that is playing out what it knows, its vasanas, going through the course of samskaras, finding it's finding itself in a situation that supports those vasanas, and because of that, the body is acting in accordance with the thoughts of its mind, and therefore it's expressing as separation versus the typical swear words and so on. You see the difference between objectivity and subjectivity? Objectivity means what? I'm analyzing what makes this person do what they do, and subjectivity means what?
Just criticizing, judging.
Instantly wallpapering a word over their face without taking any time on my part to inquire what makes them do what they do. In other words, as long as I keep judging, criticizing, I'm unwilling to accept myself. Because remember, there's only one total. It's my job to understand the total, not to exclude that thing as not part of the total. The total is only the good side. No, that's not the total. It's still separation. So what does this mean in real life? Self-inquiry, whenever opportunity demands so. What kind of opportunity is that? When something that I don't like, perfect opportunity to inquire. What makes it that I don't, what about this that I don't like? What makes me, why am I having these feelings of anger and hatred right now? What is it about that, what's causing me to, what specifically am I angry about? Could I be just looking in a wrong way maybe? Am I being stubborn, selfish right now? That's causing me to feel, really remorseful and hateful towards this person? Could it be my fault? Does someone else think like this? No. So then why am I thinking like this? What is it about my program that makes me think like this? So you become what? An inquiring person. This is a Vedantin. Right? It's easy to listen to this, but then in real life, that's where the work comes. You know why? Because there is no better way to put this to test than being exposed to real life challenges whereby I can now apply and see how valid is this knowledge. That's where also Karma Yoga comes into play. This means it's good to find sometimes a cause. I think you found the cause, you talked in it briefly. And to put yourself in that environment for a while and just see how am I dealing with this environment in the light of what I have learned. Right now I can actually take this knowledge and apply it to an environment. Why? Because that solidifies this knowledge in your being, in your mind. So therefore, looking for opportunities to exercise this is what makes this 100 times more powerful.
That's also how you discover Dharma. That's like a lot of people are confused about what is the Dharma. But by doing that process, the Dharma becomes obvious.
Yeah, good. It becomes obvious. Yeah.
So we accept nature's disaster much better.
Yeah.
When an earthquake kills millions of people or whatever, tsunami hits, kills millions. We accept that better than when a human being goes around shooting and killing people.
Yeah.
Because it's nature.
Yeah.
And that's an individual. So I think that's the difficulty part of it all. Sometimes when we inquire, we think why that we need to do that.
I was just really, I don't know how much this is but just a different take on someone who may have done something not nice to you, for example. Then they say that it's very hard to forgive that person, but what we term, like when someone's done something wrong, say, you've already condemned that person as a culprit.
Yeah.
Without even thinking you're a culprit, you're bad, But what we have to think also is that that person themselves are a culprit of their own minds.
Yeah.
It's their ignorance and that makes them do these things. And so I think we need to develop compassion for them.
Good. Yeah, what Madhu is saying now, suppose a child is born in an environment that doesn't provide education on what Dharma means. And that child ends up being someone who's hurtful. Can I really blame that child?
No.
Yeah, you see how it's not so one-sided. So this is why self-inquiry is important.
Yeah.
There's always this other side. It's not really their fault. Because nobody wants to intentionally hurt. And even if they do, then they have no choice. So it takes time.
And it's mostly people you find who are not happy themselves, who've had a difficult life, who find it hard to share love and compassion with others.
Yeah, share. Also the aspect of forgiveness from that is... we'll speak about forgiveness in chapter 12 of the Gita. It's a big topic, actually. Okay, such a sadhana should lead to unconditional and reasonless love for everyone without a trace of bitterness. Therefore, to come out of Dvandva, duality, first, step one, accepting everyone, not submissively, as in I'm powerless, but seeing them objectively, and everything without the need to comment, without the need to generate an opinion that they do not deserve. And this is to conquer one part of Prakriti, the external. So therefore, step one, first conquer the external, the need to modify external events according to what? My own thoughts. Step one. Step two, when the external Prakriti is brought under control with no raga dvesha, or at least subdued, or worked on raga dvesha, causing perpetual agitations, that's what causes the mind to agitate, likes and dislikes. If I don't like, for example, how someone looks, then I'm going to be what? Agitated by them. But is that their fault? No. That means what? I saw someone in the past who hurt me, and they look similar to this person, and now I'm being agitated. So I need to resolve that. Okay? Because if I don't, am I going to stick around and think about God? No, because I'm thinking about what? The mini agitations throughout life. Therefore, step one, work on, through sadhana, raga dvesha, to minimize the hold that it produces. Then only can one deal with inner prakriti, the mind. So step one, deal with, start to see things objectively. Step two, only then I can go within the mind. And then commentaries. No cheating, no bypassing or outsmarting Ishvara's order. First walk, then run. First outer, then inner. In other words, the way it's set up is we cannot bypass anything. There's a specific sequence to this. I think I said last year, the F-16s will hunt down whoever's trying to, bring them back to the world. Because what's happening in the spiritual world is person just wants to hear how I'm consciousness in the self. But when it comes to the real life matters, I don't even want to help you. I don't even want to look at you as someone with compassion. So just seeing oneself as, the total, that's like child's play. That's like the simplest stuff that's possible. The real work comes to be an integrated human being and, as Mathu said, to exercise and see compassion and to feel that compassion for other human beings. Because that's the true mark of this removal of dvandva, of this duality. It's not just saying I am, Brahman. A child can say that. Okay. What happened so far in our conversation from 2 o'clock? Stage 1 of creation is complete. What is stage 1? We can read. Brahman identified with Shuddha Prakriti, that is Maya, equals Ishvara, pure Sattva. Stage 2 of creation, Brahman identified with Ashuddha Prakriti, that means dominantly Rajas and Tamas, equals Avidya. Causal body is now created. Also, the subtle body has already been created in stage 2. We spoke about subtle body. Now, what's next? Stage 3. Creation of the physical world is now about to begin. The gross body. Because the physical world has to give, the physical world and the gross body, they're the exact same order of reality. They're gross, they're physical. Causal and subtle body have been created so far. So the causal and the subtle body have been created. Both the causal for the total, there's only one causal body, but also the subtle body for the total, but also for the individual. Remember? Subtle individual and the total. Hiranyagarbha and Taijasa Jiva. Okay. For experience, the physical world body is needed. If I have just a thought of something, is that good enough? Is that good? Does it stop there? No. A thought demands what? Expression. As what? Physical. So therefore, the introduction to conversion from the 5 subtle elements, tanmatras, to the 5 gross elements will now be introduced. So what have we discussed so far? The 5 subtle elements, okay? they're now going to get converted into 5 gross elements. So this conversion process we will now talk about. This is called tanmatras, okay, the 5 subtle elements. Verse 26. For the experience of the jiva and also for creating the objects of experience, that means individual objects in the world, and the house for living for the jiva. What is the house for the jiva? Body, gross body. Ishvara grossifies each of the 5 subtle elements, they're called tanmatras, through a process called panchikarana. Okay, what did we discuss so far? So far, jiva has to experience the world because it is compelled to by what? Its causal body. In order to experience the world, it needs an instrument, a physical instrument called the body, but you can't just have a body. You need also what? The body needs to interface with objects. Therefore, 2 things are coming, the world and the body. And this process is called, this conversion is called panchikarana. Okay, intermediary commentary. This is going to stretch the brain a little bit. No, actually advanced commentary as well. So this is verse 26. Verse 26. Okay, verse 26. We're reading from here. 26 I just discussed, now we're going to read the commentaries. For the enjoyment of the jiva, that means to enjoy, the earlier, for the enjoyment of the jiva at the gross level, at the physical level, the earlier it was stated that out of the original material, that is out of tamaguna, because remember tamaguna is what creates the subtle elements, that it produces in the form of tanmatras, subtle elements, the sukshma sharira is created. Yes, so what have we just read so far? So far, sukshma sharira, subtle body, is created. Ticked. Next. Now the third aspect of tamaguna and the process of grossification it undergoes to create the sthula sharira, the gross body. And the gross objects of enjoyment is dealt with. What does this mean? Tamaguna will now be used from these subtle elements, okay? These subtle elements have 3 gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. The Tamaguna will be used to create what? The sthula sharira, the gross body. But before I can create the gross body, I need to first densify, I need to grossify these 5 elements. I can't create a gross out of a thought. I need to first create matter. So we first create matter, and then we can talk about creating the gross body. Okay, 2 things are created. Namely, the bhogya vastu, in other words, objects of enjoyment. I need to enjoy some object. Why? To exhaust my karma. I need a world. And the house, in other words, the body. So far, what is being created? Objects and the body. For the enjoyment to take place. In other words, how does enjoyment take place? Body interfaces with, transacts with the object. How is this done? By the will of Ishvara. All the 5 great elements, the 5 subtle elements, undergo a process of grossification called panchikarana. For example, taking one of the 5 elements, for example, space, okay, subtle space, we'll take water, namely water. The definition of water is that because of which taste is possible. What is the property of water? Taste. So in other words, I need the element of water in order to create the possibility to taste the world. The taste aspect, the rasa aspect, is the tan matra of water. So what did it just say? The taste aspect is the subtle element called water. The subtle element called water. Okay. It cannot be seen. Therefore, the grossification is that process by which the unseen, subtle elements are brought to our cognition. That's the last part. That's important. So what is grossification? What is this part? What does this mean to go from subtle elements to gross elements? It is, what's the purpose? So that I can experience the unseen subtle elements and come to a place where I can cognize them, where I can understand them, where I can speak about them. Why? Because that's how I need to experience the world in order to exhaust my karma. So therefore the object of knowledge is the gross world. Okay. Now I will drop the level of understanding into something a little bit more reasonable. Basic commentary. And then we'll go through the advanced. But first, basic of this verse. Okay. Consciousness plus causal and subtle body is not sufficient to experience. Understand so far? I need something more. It requires material elements and gross body. The sense organs which are in the subtle body, minus the physical sense instruments, are useless. So this whole thing is useless if I just stay at the subtle body and the gross and the causal body and the prana. Useless. I need to express it in the physical world. Therefore, without the gross, creation is not complete. Only once the creation gets to the subtle stage, Ishvara has to then, by the next course of events, create gross elements, the gross 5 elements, out of the subtle elements, called Panchikarana, and fashion a physical body called Lloyd out of them, so the jiva can work out their karma. Okay. The physical body is a counter or a means by which a jiva transacts its business with the world. That's what your body is. I can only shake your hand if I have a hand. Ishvara is pure sattva, pure knowledge. So it enjoys, Ishvara enjoys itself by itself without the aid of sense organs, sense instruments, and sense objects. Why? What is Ishvara? All of the sense organs, sense instruments of every single person. Therefore, he has no need to enjoy. As soon as I put myself individual, then I have to enjoy you. Because I'm not you. Right? I'm individuated. But Ishvara is both you, me, everything. So therefore there's no need to enjoy. Whereas jivas, under the spell of avidya, enjoy and suffer intermittently owing to the presence of raja and tama guna in their subtle bodies. Because those two cover the truth. So therefore I'm unhappy with myself. More or less constant enjoyment is possible if an individual's subtle body is predominantly sattvic. In other words, by purifying the mind, getting dirty thoughts out of it, all of those adharmic thoughts, himsa thoughts, the more I get that out, the more I purify the mind, the more I magically understand Vedanta and appreciate the depth of this knowledge. So this is the importance of sadhana. Okay.
So the first jiva was Adam and Eve, second jiva, and then.
I don't think we need to bother.
The first jiva didn't have any karma to exhaust.
Now, because why is there suddenly karma out of nowhere? Where did it come from? What is total knowledge? Every possibility. Therefore, everything's possible. And to express that possibility, I need to create that one who can express that possibility, called jiva. Sarvam Dhyanam, all knowledge. All knowledge doesn't just stay all knowledge. There is also Rajaguna. So something's going to get done out of that all knowledge, that Ananda. How? By creating material called world, Jagat. Therefore, suddenly, to experience the limitlessness of all knowledge, Sarvam Dhyanam Sarvam Shakti, I need to create a jiva who is going to undertake that job. Therefore, there is no first karma, there's no first causal, there is just part of the total. Because it is limitless, thus there is no beginning to this. Okay, now...
moksha.
Yeah.
Moksha.
Yeah.
Sthula Sarira, the body.
Yeah.
If it ends up to that stage, without body, can we call it as moksha?
Without the stula?
Karana Sarira.
Yeah.
Sukshma Sarira.
Yeah.
So from Sukshma Sarira, then Sthula Sarira.
Yeah.
In between, moksha means not taking the physical body.
No, yeah, I need a physical body.
Physical body.
Yeah, definitely. Because
moksha means not taking physical body. Is it? Can we take like that?
No, you don't have physical body to reach moksha.
Yeah, I need a physical
exhaust
body
that
for
body.
moksha.
No, once you stop there.
That's a good point. See, I can't get moksha in a dream. Only the waking state, that means what? A physical body needs to be present in order to look at Vedanta for 5 minutes and inquire. Can you inquire in a dream for 5 minutes? Not even for 1 second you can't inquire, because the dream is so fluid. So therefore I need solidity, I need reliability, I need something to remain so I can think, inquire. Therefore, I need physical body for that.
Then what is moksha?
What is moksha? Just identifying from the three stula karana sharira, stula sukshma karana sharira. I am not the three bodies. I am that which is aware of the three bodies. Because I'm that because of which the three bodies, the contents of the three bodies constantly get to be validated because of me, consciousness.
No. When a body dies, body dies only.
Yeah, definitely.
Sthula Sarira, Sukshma Sarira.
Done. They're finished.
But the Karana Sarira, the thoughts, these are ideas, and they will remain.
Karana Sharira still remains because the rest of the jivas, because there's only one Karana Sharira, so the other jivas still have to exhaust their karma. So therefore, there's creation still continues. Why? For other jivas. But you, Brahman, as though go back to sleep fully aware of yourself.
But these thoughts and ideas, everything, they will not die now. That's my point.
They don't die. You carry your subtle
the
body.
body, subtle body,
Yeah.
physical body dies.
Yeah. Subtle body still also
yes, prana also.
Well done.
Then these ideas, thoughts, memories, and all these.
It causes rebirth.
They will not die. They will not die.
Yeah.
Moksha is exhaust.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I disidentify from them. Therefore, there's no reason for me to come back. Because if this world has nothing to give me anymore, then what's the point of coming back?
Now, if all karmas exhausted, then.
Oh, okay. See, we have to address this. You will never exhaust all your karmas, first of all. Because whenever we try to exhaust the karma, then just trying to exhaust, I'm doing another action. Therefore, I'm creating new consequences. Therefore, all moksha means you don't have to destroy your samskaras, nor your vasanas. That's never going to happen. Only disidentify that I'm not this person who keeps doing all of these actions. That's it. It's that simple. Disidentify with the memories. There are memories, but they belong to what?
The body.
Yeah, they belong to the mind. But the mind I did not create. The mind is just what? It is just a mechanism for this person to do what it does. Okay, summary. Moksha equals... Okay, tattva viveka kaha atma satyam tadanyat sarvam mitya iti. In other words, anything other than the absolute truth, that which is never changing, is false. So what never changes? You. Okay, your awareness. You're aware of your 50 years ago, right? Okay, so you were there also. And then it goes, Atma kaha. Like, what is the self? It says, Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira Vyatiriktaha. In other words, I'm not the causal, I'm not the Karana, the Stula, nor the subtle body. I'm not that. I'm not the 5 sheets. I've got nothing to do with prana. I've got nothing to do with the physical, mental bliss, any kind of bliss you experience. It's got nothing to do with that because you're aware of the bliss, therefore you're not the bliss. And then you're also the witness of the three states. In other words, all of the three states that we know about, sleeping, dreaming, waking, every single one of them, I know them. Why? Because I pervade them. But they're generated by what? Maya. So I have nothing to do with them. I didn't create them. I'm just aware of them. I, Brahman, am what? Awareing that which Maya has created. Thoughts?
So
40% resolved, not answered. I know, I can feel it.
I'm not my
Once
thoughts,
you've
they're
reached-
created by Maya.
once you've reached a state of moksha, what would you say when a person has reached the state of moksha?
Nothing. Everything continues as normal. Yeah, life
They
continues as
still
normal.
continue the duties, they still continue.
Yeah, you just don't get reborn.
Is that
Okay, I'm going to say this again. When moksha is, okay, the word achieve or attain is actually misleading.
Misleading, that's what I was trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
at here.
It's just ascertaining I am awareness which is never changing. And it's clear as daylight. It's even clearer than this body. It's just present.
And then you practice once you understood.
Yeah, you practice.
When you're able,
That's it.
once you're able to practice this
Yeah.
thought, then you live in the state of moksha, so to say.
Yeah, you just, so it's habitual. It's automatic.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the point of this? Then the last breath, then because I've constantly performed my sadhana, identifying with what is always changeless, always present, can I then come back to a changing world considering I've only identified with a changeless self? No, because what is the world? Changing. But I've spent my whole life identifying with the changeless. Therefore, it's not just about ascertaining para apara prakriti, it is about what? Staying in that ascertained knowledge. Permanent establishing that knowledge. How? Constant practice. What is it in this experience, this moment right now that is present? And I know as equally so, with equal familiarity as I knew yesterday, 20 years ago, and I will continue to know at all times. What is that? What is it in my experience? Little by little, that which is present, awareness, that starts to become so clear that there's no mistake about it.
Sometimes you can get caught up with
Yeah.
worldly duties,
Yeah.
but you're still in. I don't want to take your time.
No, no,
I
go-
can talk to you later.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
We still living in this world and performing our duties as normal,
Yeah.
and you're caught up in worldly duties, but you perform it with dharma in mind.
Yeah, that's correct.
You know, so
Okay, I'm going to also answer the question. Yeah, that
because what in the Tuesday class we're talking about how people move from worldly things to spiritual things.
Yeah.
You know, the transition.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from, because you can never get away from worldly duties.
Yeah.
Because you live in this world.
Yeah, you pervade this world. Yeah.
Yes, so you really can't get away from doing your duties that you have to do.
Yeah, because you can't get away from yourself because you are the world.
Yeah, so, but you perform it with with an attitude of dharma.
Of dharma, yeah. That's the how to live. Otherwise,
how
I'll
to
suffer.
live.
Otherwise, I'll suffer.
Yeah.
Okay, what is moksha? What is this?
pot?
Is it?
Empty pot.
Why do you say it's clay? Why do you say it's pot?
It looks
Well,
It
the shape of a
appears
pot.
to be a pot.
So if I identify with my appearance, that is called not moksha. If I identify with the one same substance, which all of the world, entire existence is of, then what is there? Is there any reason to come back and experience myself as another person? Considering both people are clay, both people are what? Consciousness. So this means if I identify myself as a pot, then I have a desire to what? Come back and have an experience of something different. Why? Because my focus was where? on the form, on the appearance, Andre. Whereas if I change my focus from Andre, which is called the spot, to that which is the substance of the spot, then what is the point of trying to experience as another form when both of them are the one same clay? That's what moksha means. Changing focus from mithya to satyam. Okay? We'll leave it at that for now, and then it's going to become more clear as through the course of time. I'm just going to close with this. What's next? I will get back to this verse next time because we're not going to get away from the advanced commentaries. What's next in this creation process? Formula for Panchikarana. How 5 subtle elements convert to 5 gross elements. And this is going to be very interesting. How do you actually create from subtle to gross? There's a formula for that. So that's what's coming in next time we meet. Next time we'll see each other is on the 10th of September. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti